come back.
Mitch gets it now.
I get it.
Then the main character, Sutter Cane, is Jurgen Prochnow. He was on Dune, Beverly Hills Cop 2. He's been another big kind of character actor.
Yep.
Got a great accent, just got a great look, demeanor. It's the same kind of as like David Warner, you know. Bernie Casey. Now, Bernie Casey was in this just as a bit part. Did you know that guy was a professional football player?
I did not.
I did not.
He was a professional football player from 67 to 68 for the Rams, 61 through 66 with the 49ers.
Ooh.
See, I don't.
60s football.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I might know some '60s players, but I'm not from the West Coast.
No.
So I
his
wouldn't know
first
those
real
guys.
big movie was like Brian's Song. He was in that one.
Oh, okay.
But he was just like a bit role in it. And
movie
then,
when I
of
was-
course, he's in Revenge of the Nerds. You know, he's the leader of Lambda Lambdas. So, I mean, that was a pretty cool little deal. I didn't know he was a football player until a couple of days ago. Then you got Peter Jason. Peter Jason was another character that started, or another character actor that pretty much got. He was in the last Apocalypse Trilogy movie, which was Prince of Darkness. He was in there, and he kept his working relationship with John Carpenter for a long time.
Because that's what John Carpenter does.
He picks the good ones, and he keeps with them.
I like you. Come with me.
Yeah, you're going to make movies with me. I'll get you paid.
What other movies was he in, John Carpenter's?
They Live. Those three right there all were kind of in a row for John Carpenter. It was like he started with Prince of Darkness, and it was They Live, and then this one right here too. Yeah. Then you got Charlton Heston. Now, come on, Charlton
We're not
Heston.
going to talk about that. Moses is in the house.
My notes say the teeth. He's got the teeth of God, and he is also Moses.
There you go.
That is Charlton Heston.
Like the Moses.
But he has one of the coolest names too. Is Jackson Harglow, and
Yes.
somehow that's how I named my son
That's
Jackson. It's
Really?
named after him. No, it's
Oh,
not.
I was like, what? How random is that?
Yeah, that would be crazy. Then we got Frances Bay. She was the old lady, Mrs. Pickman. Of course, she was on Blue Velvet. Happy
Adam
Gilmore.
Sandler's grandma.
Yeah, yeah.
Blue Velvet.
Yeah.
Oh, look
Yeah.
at the birds.
Yeah, you better go to
freaking
sleep, or I'll
awesome.
make you go to sleep.
I'll make you go to sleep.
I'd like a glass of warm milk.
Please, Grandma, may I have some more?
I love
You
that
just
one.
pulled yard duty.
Yeah.
Anyone else's hands hurt? I didn't think so.
Then you got Wilhelm von Homburg. He was Simon. He was a bit role in this one, but
But you all know him from Ghostbusters 2.
Vigo, which that wasn't his
yeah.
real voice.
Vigo.
But that was Max von Sydow's voice, but he was the character.
Got you.
But he was also in Die Hard. And then, he was a pro fighter too. He was a pro wrestler in the 60s, I believe.
Oh, really?
And then he actually turned to boxing. He didn't have a great record. But then he turned into acting, and that's where he's got the big stature, the German stature. You know what I mean? I think his grandfather was like a German SS officer or something.
Oh.
Or he was a guard at Buchenwald or some crazy it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, the research I did on that, I was like, whoa. And then this was the debut of Darth Vader.
Hayden
Christensen. Yeah.
Yep.
He
Boy
was
on
just
the
a
bike.
Plays the paper boy.
really bit role in that part. Okay, so now that we've gone through, we didn't know how evil he was, so they really did.
It goes back to
deconstruct-
my George Lucas, John Carpenter on acid thing.
Maybe he came out of Hobbs End. Maybe he came out of Hobbs End.
Oh,
there.
you know what? Hob is another name for it, the devil.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So now let's get into this movie.
Yeah.
So this movie is actually, it starts out kind of in a weird way. Like, of course, the opening scene, whenever they're showing the books being made, so obviously it's about a writer.
Right.
And then, of course, who was the biggest writer at the time? Stephen King.
Yeah,
So-
the Stephen King allusions are definitely
Well, even
there.
the syllables are the same.
Yep.
Sure.
H.P.
Really?
Lovecraft, Stephen King, Sutter Cane.
I didn't realize
Sutter
that.
Cane, Stephen King. Yeah, yeah. And plus, he's from a state.
Maine.
that
He's up
uses
there in
everything.
He's up there in the New
Northeast.
England
Yeah.
area.
Yeah. So they kind of tie everything together.
I actually, and I believe John Carpenter and Stephen King are friends.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Because Christine and
Yeah, he did Christine.
He did Christine and did he do another one? No.
I don't think so.
No.
Christine's the one I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a good movie too. But
And maybe we're wrong. And if we're wrong and let us know.
let us know, please.
On the Instas. and
No,
the
it's
twats.
only Christine. But I actually, to get to what you're saying, I like the way this movie starts. It starts what you think would be a normal private eye kind of looking into something.
Yeah, it's weird.
But if you listen to the news reports and stuff, there's like shit going
But
down.
before that, that's not really where it starts. Because it starts him coming into the insane asylum, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Right,
Because he's,
right,
that's
he's
where you meet John
right,
Glover.
right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Who
It's framed. It's got the framing devices. I forgot.
And,
Yep.
and John Glover, this is how you know John Glover's evil. Because when they finally get him inside,
yes.
he turns on the fucking Carpenters.
They
Yeah.
all start
What
moaning.
a dick!
Yeah, my bad. It starts with him being, pulling up to the insane asylum. They bring him in. Number 9. Put him in number 9.
Yeah, kicks the dude in the balls.
I love that line too. He says, "I'm sorry about the balls.
Yeah.
It was a lucky shot or something like that." I was like, that's the first words you hear out of Sam Neill's mouth.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy. And then you hear the guy in the background is like,
I'm
"If
not
he's
insane."
Yeah, I'm not insane. And the guy in the background is like, if he's not, I'm not either.
Yeah.
It's kind of just like
Then
hidden
come
in
the
that shit.
Carpenters.
Yeah.
Turn
And then
that shit up.
He hears all the
Oh,
moaning and then
God.
he turns up that fucking music. But it's the
Fuck.
Carpenters.
Well, and you know
and
the
it's
other people are fucking crazy because
Yeah.
they're like, "Fuck it, we're singing
like,
along."
they sing the whole thing. And he's like, just not the fucking
Only
Carpenters.
just begun.
Yeah.
And the Carpenters too.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that's cool too because it's a Carpenter song and a Carpenter movie,
Right,
and it's
right.
called "It's Only Just Begun,"
Right.
and it's the beginning of the movie.
Exactly.
How
is
can
dope.
they make it even better than that, right? But then his David Warner comes in, right? He's a doctor.
Psychiatrist.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Dr.
so-
Wren.
They kind of start just like in a lot of Lovecraft stories. They start at kind of at the end where somebody's telling the story.
And-
From what I've read, that's how a lot of them start, like
Yeah,
that, where
absolutely.
they're telling the story of how it goes.
And I like that wraparound because to even my point earlier, this unseen disaster that's happening outside the walls of the confines of the asylum, it's slowly happening because it's been
Yeah.
happening since when we get there, you'll see that Sam Neill's, he's going to be brought to the insane asylum and be in there for a while. And that's cool. I
Yeah,
think that
yeah.
you don't see what's out there, but you just know shit's going, like the world is falling apart.
But they know that he's coming too because they're like, is it really him? Did they got him?
Right.
And so they're all ready for him.
Right.
Then he comes in and then they
Kicks
get him.
everybody's ass.
Yeah, but then that's when the main baddie shows up too because the music stops. He's like, "This is a shitty way to end this." You know what I mean? And you're like,
Right.
"Ended? What the fuck?" Then that's whenever the
You haven't
doctor
read
comes
the
in.
book yet.
Yeah, and it's like you haven't finished it yet,
yeah.
or something like that, right?
Jürgen.
So, yeah, Jürgen Porch now. For the Jürgen Furgs.
Jürgen. We sound like the Muppets.
Yes. Well, then he starts telling that story. He's like, "What's my them?" And he's like, "What do you mean? What are you talking about? Well, you want to hear about my them, don't you?"
Well, and before that, I mean, like when he walks in, because he says the only thing he gave him was a black crayon.
Yeah, that's the only thing
the
he
only
asked
thing he
for.
requested.
Yeah, the only thing he
yeah.
asked for. Yeah, and he's got like crosses everywhere.
Even
And-
on his
Yeah,
face.
he's covered the
yeah.
padded room
How do
in
you-
marks and crosses. And
How do you put crayon on your face and it stay?
I don't know. Maybe it was really a grease crayon.
Oh.
Does he spit on it and then like I don't know.
Spit on it, and what happens?
Yeah, I don't know. Rub it. Something weird.
Oh no!
maybe it's I don't know.
I like where this is going.
But then that's where we get into the story, like where you were saying, where it starts off in that kind of like that private eye. But he's an independent insurance.
He's a freelance insurance investigator.
yeah,
Right.
weird.
Yeah.
Where the
A
fuck
private
does this
eye.
come from?
Whatever.
It's the same kind of idea.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but he just has a niche market that he works for
Right.
and makes probably
Yeah.
a ton of money doing it.
They bust
Instead of
They
mhm.
bust the dude for doing the fraud, for
Right.
burning down his
Burning
own stuff, and then
yeah.
he has a girlfriend, and you can tell he's a slick guy
Right.
because again he's got boots and a blazer on, and he's smoking.
But
He smokes
Sam-
more cigarettes in this movie than Home Dude in Casino does. Robert De
I don't
Niro.
know. I don't know, man.
He smokes a lot.
You're talking about Sam Neill's character
Yes.
here,
Yeah,
John
yeah.
Trent.
Yeah.
He is also when I was watching this back the other day, I would describe him as a little swarmy.
yeah.
He does
Definitely
hit.
a
He
little
does
swarmy.
hit on the chick a little bit. He's
like
like,
hardcore.
He's
dude.
like, why don't you come back to my place? Now this is after he's,
Yeah, we were kind of jumping there. 'cause
kind of
we-
jumping ahead a little bit. He's
Yeah.
after he's jumped out, but there are other scenes later too where he wakes her up with the horn
Yeah,
in the car,
he's kind of a dick.
which is
Yeah,
kind of a
yeah.
dick move. Like I was thinking, like, why would you do that,
Because
dude?
he's a dick.
But he's
Yeah.
kind of got that like not sleazy but a little swarmy kind
Yeah,
of feel. to him.
agreed.
He's
And
just an
Sam Neill,
asshole.
yeah, he does a great
Yeah.
job at that.
Well, after they
He's
bust,
a good actor.
Yeah, after they bust the dude, then they're sitting in the cafe, And that's when they're
my
like you were
favorite
talking
scene.
about.
Him and Robbie, yeah.
Where it's kind of, they're sitting in there, they're talking about it, and he's like, hey, how about you join me?
I got a job for you or something, right?
Yeah, and then they start talking about it, but you see the whole thing unfolding behind you while they're talking. So you got two things going on. You know it's coming, but they don't.
Right. Yeah. So in the background, in the foreground, you have them in a booth in a diner. He's talking to his buddy about this job, about an author, and he, hands him a envelope with details in it. Sutter Cane, this famous author, which again is akin to Stephen King.
Yeah. Right.
It's this horror writer because back in the day, Stephen King was. When one of his books would come out, it was bam! It was like a hit. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Especially in the 90s there. But yeah, in the background of the diner, you can see a guy in a trench coat, and he's got and people are running away from him.
He's got an axe.
He's got an axe.
A fucking silver axe.
Yeah.
Like badass. And he just sees him from across the road, and he immediately goes straight towards him.
Comes towards camera.
Jumps
towards
over shit.
Sam Neill and what's the other actor?
Bernie Casey.
Bernie Casey.
Yeah.
In the diner. And then as he says the name Sutter Cane, I believe that's when he smashes the window right as he says the name.
Yeah, so it's like you get to you see that part of it, and then you see that coming through.
Yeah.
And what's the first thing that he says to him?
Do you read Sutter Cane?
Yeah, exactly.
And he's got the double pupils.
He has two pupils in each of his eyes. It's very Lovecraftian and cool. See, this is one of those movies that I like to watch where it's like an intangible, like a Lovecraft story. I don't know if you've ever read a Lovecraft story, but they're really kind of hard to get through, but they have that monster mythos that so many people have built on over the years.
Absolutely.
And this movie, I like this movie because it gives you a little taste of that without having to dig too deep into all the Lovecraftian monsters and all the mythos and all the.
It was a good condensed version of.
It was even just an edge of it, like you're saying.
You just get the little glimpses, like the pupils. You know what I'm saying?
And then had they gone, spoiler alert, beyond that door, right?
Right.
We would have gotten way further into that, I assume, because I feel
into
like that's
void.
where it's.
It would have just been a void
from.
of space and monsters.
Right.
But yeah,
I mean, as far as I really feel like it was H.P. Lovecraft inspired.
It definitely was,
sure.
definitely. And I wish there were more movies. I know there's a lot out there that I haven't seen that are actually based on Lovecraft stories. But I know that not all of them are
good.
What you would call the best movies ever.
This one, a lot of people that read or have never read it watched this movie, then they read it, and they really enjoyed it a little bit more because it did, like you said, scrape the surface. Gave it a little bit enough to where it kind of wet your beak a little bit.
Yeah.
Like,
and then you can go dig into that whole universe. Like At the Mountains of Madness is obviously a play on the words.
In the Mouth of Madness.
Oh yeah, that's where they got the name for sure.
Yeah, well, and that's where where we're at the point in the story to where he's like, "What the fuck is this?" And then he actually goes to the publishing house,
right?
That's where he meets Jackson Harglow.
Oh yeah, so for the job after the man attacks through the plate glass window in the diner.
At this point, he still doesn't know even who it was.
No, cops shoot him dead. That guy's dead. So then in that scene too, Sam Neill has kind of a sick grin on his face for a second, like he's almost thrilled. You could take it however you want to read it, but he's thrilled that he's still alive. But in a way, I think he's like.
He liked the excitement.
He said Sutter Cane, and then a man came in and with an axe and said, "Do you read Sutter Cane?" So then we make our way to the publishing house where we meet Charlton Heston's character.
And I would say, if you're an investigator of any sort,
that's
you're
now your curiosity's piqued.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
there's
so
a reason
why
you went into
the
that
job.
profession.
If they would have had an in between scene, it would have worked. But I'm glad that they just cut it right there.
Oh yeah, then
that was perfect.
Went into the deal, and then you see that is one of the busiest offices that I think I've ever seen. There's people are moving around everybody, and then I'm always thinking because again he's smoking cigarettes so much. That I literally see him. He lights a cigarette when he gets into the office. He lights a cigarette when he leaves. He's always smoking.
And this is where he hits on that chick hardcore with the right arm up against the wall, kind of trapping her between the wall and himself.
Yeah, well, she's blocking the deal so he doesn't leave.
Because he doesn't want to do the job.
Yeah, he's thinking about it, and she knows that he's skeptical at this point because they mention a whole bunch of things like that. People really like this stuff.
I love this stuff.
Actually,
he has the best line as he's getting into the elevator. He says, "We fucked up the air, the water. We fucked up each other. Why don't we just finish the job by flushing our brains down the toilet?
Yeah, that's the best.
That's
line.
I was like, that
lead.
was so great.
Yeah.
And then his delivery was much
Yeah.
better than mine, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah. Then that leads you into more of it. But you get the Jackson character, the publisher, and they're all about money. They're like,
Right.
we want our due.
Well, and you find out later that this was a publicity.
Yeah.
That he's kind of thinking, oh, you're just doing this to get like publicity, and you find out later that it was, but it obviously has gone way too far.
Heston gives a look to Styles at that point too. Like, look.